Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search Xero for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome, everybody, to Tech Magic, the show where we journey into the heart of technology. We talk about VR, AR, AI, everything else in between, and probably stuff that you would never expect. My name is Lee Keebler. I am your host today. Kathy is got her Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego hat on. I have no idea where she is. She's traveling somewhere. She will be back next week with stories to tell for sure. So in the meantime, I have my guest co-host who has been here before, Adam Davis-McGee, ADM for short, who's going to be filling us in on everything that happened in the last couple of weeks with MetaConnect. He was actually there and was on campus for that reveal, so we're going to be digging into that. We've got news about Epic Games. We haven't talked about Epic Games in a little while, so that's going to be coming up. A lot of stuff on OpenAI, some unexpected news from NVIDIA as well. And then, of course, towards the end, we will be checking in with our producer, Lily, with Dispatch from The Fringe. But for right now, welcome everyone to, almost mid-October. The year is flying by. Everyone over, at least on my side of the coast in the Pacific Northwest, seems to be fully enveloped into that spooky Halloween spirit. We've finally got that cold, and pumpkins are popping up everywhere. And Adam is down in sunny Los Angeles where there are no seasons. So, Adam, how's it going? How is it down in sunny LA?
It is very sunny, and it is, still very seasonal in LA. But I wish...
That was always my problem with living in LA, was like, I just didn't know what season it was anymore. After a couple of years, you start... I think at one point I actually got like Easter and Thanksgiving confused, and that's when I knew something was wrong.
You're like, this is when we're supposed to get the turkey. No, you get the eggs today. Honestly, I miss, what you just described. What I know is going on up there in Portland is that crisp fall. The leaves are colored, like changing, and it's synonymous with Halloween. So this month, the month of October. So I grew up in Minnesota, for those that don't know. So I know my seasons very well.
Cold and not cold.
And it's a very nostalgic moment when the wind is, the cold air is crisp and the pumpkins are coming out and all of that's the season right there. That's the vibe. It's Halloween. But yeah, it is kind of weird when all of our neighbors on our block are pulling out all the Halloween decorations on the houses and it's still just like 80 degrees out. There's no...
Yeah. Absolutely.
That doesn't ever get old. I mean, that never gets normalized. So yeah, man, but that's, down here, it's going, man. We've had, what we've been having a lot of recently? I've been noticing we've been having some more earthquakes. And I, was told by a friend, I didn't fact check this, that because we've been getting a lot of little earthquakes, and it hasn't been just LA, it's been northern, Southern California, because we're getting all these mini earthquakes, it's good that, it means that there's not a huge build up to like a big earthquake coming. So I'm going to believe that.
So it's not like bears where if you see a baby bear, there's a mama bear somewhere in the background.
Nope. It's just a crew of baby bears. We just got, all we want is just a bunch of little baby bears back to back. We'll take that. So that's, that's kind of been happening down here. But yeah, it's same old LA, same old sunny LA, just chilling.
Now, your background is in the mixed reality space, and you were down for Meta Connect. You actually got to go, you were on campus, you were there for the announcement, and you were there for the whole talk about Orion, the new updates with the new Ray-Bans with Meta's, camera technology and stuff like that in it. You're actually, are those no, those aren't the Ray-Bans, are they?
They are.
Okay.
Yes, they are. They are actually one of the first generations, one of the first or second generations. And I love these things. I've held on to them for a while because I actually truly appreciate the form and the function. So, mine are old school. Okay. There's no AI built in. Like I've got.
Would you upgrade for the AI or are you waiting for a little bit more?
Yeah, I would. And a big part of that, was just coming off of this most recent Connect. It got me excited. It got me inspired to get a new generation. I'll tell you a funny story. They had like custom engraving for your like for your phone cases. So you could get it like laser engraved. And I don't know if you recall, but the original case is a black pill case. This guy right here. That's the OG case. But now they use the brown like flip cases. So my pill case was like, they were like, no, sir, we can't touch that. That's too old.
Oh.
I was so excited to get my little, case engraved. And then they were like, no, sir, we can't do those. And that was day one.
You got gear shamed on day one.
By day two, I had stood up my soapbox and protested outside of the Ray-Ban. No, I didn't. But no, I did bring it back. I actually brought the physical case back because I didn't have it with me day one. And the Meta team, they gave it a try. They gave it a shot and they succeeded. So yeah, I'm wearing my old schools loud and proud.
So what was the buzz around Orion? What are your thoughts with Orion? I mean, I think the first and foremost that needs to be said about Zuckerberg's reveal of like true AR glasses is that it is still years away. I've had a lot of people ask me over emails and LinkedIn and even like going to cafes for meetings of like, oh, are you going to get a pair? And I'm just like, get a pair of what? These things, there's 2 pair. No, I don't think I'm going to get one of those. There's only 2. We got years before this becomes, am I going to get a pair?
Kathy's going to pull up with a pair. have you guys shot them out of the show? Pull it out of the briefcase.
No, there really is like only 2 pair in existence. This thing is such a prototype.
Right.
But like, what was the buzz on the ground there at Meta Connect? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. First and foremost, I have not been an individual that has been excited about AR glasses. I just haven't. I hadn't seen a product that got me really excited. I hadn't seen, really fair use cases for development and creativity at this moment in time. And, I wasn't excited. There were a few moments in conversations with friends and some demos where I was like, okay, I could see it coming. But, there's this whole, there's a whole convergence of different technologies, I think, at play that are making this, that are really making this product worthwhile. Of course, one of the big pieces of that is AI. But I will say that after the Orion demo, I was excited. I was genuinely excited about the future and the form and the function of these computers on our faces and how that will start to look.
Do you feel like and I kind of feel like this is the case, but I could be wrong. Do you feel like the Orion debut kind of knocked the wind out of the upgraded Ray-Bans?
Oh, it definitely stole the show.
You know what I mean?
It definitely stole the show because in the updated Ray-Bans, they're such a close, they're cousins to each other for what. So what basically you have happening, right, is you have Zuckerberg on stage, jumping a few years ahead of adoption where these.
That might be a decade ahead. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, fair. Right. I mean, look, you have a product like the Ray-Bans that has still yet to be really mass adopted, and just people incorporating, just these smart glasses into their day-to-day, still very, very, little adoption there. But with the Orion, what he debuted is obviously some next level technology that a lot of people are still the majority of people are still gonna have a difficult time really understanding outside of just like, oh, this looks like something from Black Mirror, or this is like something from, it still doesn't land in someone's personal day to day. And I think the Meta glasses will be first to do that. And then something like the Orions will come.
I think the big thing with the Meta Ray-Ban glasses that I'm trying to wrap my head around is now I do think it may be the first piece of external AI gear that makes sense, right? We've seen the R1 Rabbit. That was kind of a flop. We've seen the Humane Pin come and go. People have tried to encapsulate AI and the resurgence of interest into this topic into hardware and fail over and over again. So seeing it put into glasses, maybe that's the right form factor for this. But let me ask you this, like you've had Ray-Ban, the Meta Ray-Ban since day one. You're wearing the day one glasses. Let's say tomorrow the updated with AI Ray-Bans show up in your mailbox. How does your life change? Because glasses are something you wear all the time, right? Like that.
I think the big piece of what everyone is kind of figuring out right now is, where does the role of AI fit in your person? As a physical wearable, as a digital assistant, there's this physical and digital role of AI that I think everyone's just trying to get, figured out. So the glasses it's a very logical, function, because you have the ability to have a camera where, in parallel where your eyes are, your own natural cameras are, like those, that makes sense for the glasses to be able to see and read the world and input visual data. But then you can also just, go ahead and talk to it and have it record. Now, I will also say that I am a huge fan of the other more minimal AI design tools, like the AI assistant design tools. There's a few out there in the marketplace that are coming out that I just think are really cool. They just look like really cool pieces of jewelry, like a necklace or like a cool piece of like a bracelet. And that AI assistant can do so much for you with just, logging and recording and remembering things. And just, so there's this, we've had the AI assistant in our phones. There's been, some rough takeoff there, depending on which kind of phone you have. But like, I think that's one of the big things, is baking the AI assistant into our day to day. So as someone who's been wearing glasses and wearing smart glasses for a while, uses them to take phone calls, uses them to, listen to music, blah, 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 capture some video, capture some photos. I think the, exponential upgrade of AI, and that is just, it's a natural transition, natural evolution.
But let's talk about the P word, privacy.
Privacy.
Because recently,
doesn't exist.
No, but yeah, it doesn't anymore. That's kind of what's the elephant in the room. But there was an article that came out this week of 2 college students who had figured out how to take Meta's smart glasses, and they're basically doxing people in real time. They were able to, while wearing these glasses and talking with people, the glasses can identify several classmates, their addresses, names of their relatives, and all of this is in real time. I'm going to leave their name out of the conversation, but you can easily Google this article and find it for yourself. But this brings up, I think, everyone's gut reaction fear to what happens when you basically put a computer on your face and it's got cameras and it's thinking faster than humans can think, and you may or may not realize that a camera is pointing at you. When we're doing a podcast, we know the mic is on, we know the camera's here, so I'm way more cognizant of the things that I say, and I think a little bit more carefully about, what other topics I'm going to talk about and how I'm going to connect points from point A to point B. But if I'm just at like a restaurant, or we're just hanging out, you've been at my house before, if we're just sitting on the couch watching TV,
better watch yourself.
We just say whatever we say to each other. That's just the way it's always been. So, there is this in the world of where like gotcha media is really boiling right now. And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
now that these things are like got super AI computers getting baked into them and can tell not only you, but your people, your family, your credit score. No, it doesn't tell you your credit score. But you know what I mean? Like that's...
What was that Social Security hack? That was pretty recent.
Don't give people ideas.
All those Social Security numbers. But listen, okay. But I hear what you're saying. So here, before we go down just kind of the magic that is the tech of what these kids in college, invented.
Which is impressive.
Impressive
can be scary. You know what I mean?
For sure. But I want to go back to something you just said, which is just like, what do we do now in a society where the gotcha can really be, where the people can really get you in all these creative ways? And I think there's something to be said about, the potential shift in accountability in people's user behavior in public. I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. But given the trend of the internet and social media where people capture other people without them realizing it and then post it as a form of humor, as a pun, and then someone's like whole life can be, impacted, or they could lose their job or something. Like in certain instances, that accountability is necessary. And others, it's a complete consent violation and privacy violation. All that said, when it all boils down to it for me, Keebs, I'm here for these kids. I love these kids and what they did, because facial recognition is one of those things. It's a tool that's always been out there. All these kids did not hack, and as far as I'm aware, they did not violate anyone's privacy in terms of service for the hardware that they use, right?
But isn't that what's scary?
It low key, yeah. But look, they weren't the first to do it. Meta released the glasses to be able to live stream to social media first. So, like, whether you were realizing you're being live streamed, like, I have these glasses at a music festival, on a train, and I push a button and I'm live streaming to IG, and the only indicator would be a light blinking on my glasses. But otherwise, you just don't know. People don't know.
Now, it seems to me you could really easily just take a Sharpie over that light too and just...
Right. 100%. That's what I always think. And people, like you said, since I've been wearing these glasses for a long time, the number one thing I always get is like, oh my God, are you recording me right now? And my response is always the same: is I would never record you without your consent. And even if I was recording, there's a flashing light, but I wouldn't.
That sounds like something someone would say if they were recording you.
Well, I guess I'll just say, yeah, my response will just be maybe. Maybe I am.
Maybe someone is. All right, we're going to go on.
Don't say anything you'll regret.
Maybe it makes society a better place because we're just now like have to be more careful. I don't know.
There's potential. Maybe. We'll try to keep on the positive side of that. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back with some more news. I got some big stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about a little bit more of this AI privacy stuff. And then we have some huge announcements from NVIDIA that came out last week. We'll be back in just a few more minutes with more tech magic.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bull spend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Zero. The accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
We're back with Tech Magic. My name is Lee Keebler. Kathy is somewhere in the world, and given, I'm sure, talks, and we'll hear all about it next week as soon as she returns. But in the meantime, we've got guest co-host Adam Davis-McGee, ADM for short, with us. And before we went on break, we were talking about, the privacy concerns of Meta's glasses. Yes, treat all of that responsibly. This is the new world that we live in, and I think we're going to have to learn how to traverse this and be careful. That being said, we are also seeing this increase of, while we may be able to record things in real time, near real time, the birth of the gotcha moment online is now competing with the birth of the deepfake. And how do we wrap our heads around what is real, what's not real, and the fact that it's all happening at the exact same time, right? This is one that, honestly, I think scares the crap out of people. This is the scariest thing that I think, there's a lot going on in the world that is like, whoa, this is weird or terrifying or scary or whatever. But this is the one, this is like that sleeping giant that bothers me probably the most. And this is the idea that deepfakes are constantly being produced, uploaded, and flooding the web of AI generated nude photos, sexual abuse photos. There's a lot of this happening coming up through high schools that need to get underway. We do not have a strong government-based solution for this yet because it is happening faster than we can rein it in.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. And I know, like, everything I just said about privacy and other things, like the deepfake conversation, it hits me a little different when I just think about, in juxtaposition to what we just discussed, where someone can be recording me doing something that I'm just doing, and I might not know that I'm being recorded. But the idea that someone can create and manufacture a completely new narrative. And my biggest thing is, just as a parent, I have young kids, just what type of emotional impact this can have on young people, and let alone all the different levels of, industries and throughout social media and whatnot. But like the impact of your child going to school and some sort of deepfake is created in a sexually harmful way. I mean, regardless of it being fake, it's just, and right now schools just are not having those conversations. They're not having conversations about how to report them. They're not having conversations. Some of them are, but not a lot are having conversations around it. Not nearly enough. My kids are in school. We haven't been given any, and that's nothing against my school. I love our school, but like any of my friends' schools, like there's not resources that are really being passed around and discussed, at least as far as deepfakes, how they should be handled and discussed in this academia.
And we have very little data as this comes out too. I mean, we do have that the Center for Democracy and Technology, which is a nonprofit, and they're an advocate for digital rights and privacy. Their polling found that 15% of high schoolers report hearing about a deepfake or AI-generated images depicting someone associated at their school with some type of sexually explicit or intimate imagery being generated about them. 15% is a polling number, and polling numbers, skew towards the lower end. So that's kind of like a baseline, and that still seems really high in the scheme of what the topic we're talking about, right? And it is one of those things where it's like, I think most people who are in adulthood at this point, the biggest threat they had going through school of something like this was just the rumor mill, right? And a lot of us grew up in the age of the hate page, MySpace hate pages were definitely a thing in the early 2000s. And that went into a whole different generation dealing with the fact that Snapchat doesn't actually delete your photos because you can screenshot things. But those were all
digital cyberbullying. Yeah, the next.
Right. And all of that is like mitigated through people's actions. This is the first time where I've seen something like this where it's just like, you don't really have control over this. This is just a thing now that people can do. Time will tell.
How would you feel, if something came out about you, if a deep fake of some kind came out, like, would you be the person that goes online and addresses it and says, hey, this is not true, like, get away from it? Or like, how do you respond to something like that?
I think you have the moral obligation to respond to it and say it's not true, even if it paints you in a good light, right? Like that, you have to take the good and the bad. Now, if they can, make me ripped and jacked, that, hey, give me that plugin. Where's that filter? But no, I'm kidding. That's horrible. But no, I think you have to say something. I think anytime that something comes up that is not true and obviously generated by AI, it needs to be tagged. It would be nice if there were a constant system that says, this is AI generated, blah, blah, blah. That might be the most annoying tagline of the future, but at least it would be there so you knew. But we don't currently have that. And so you're just kind of left to your own eyes to judge. Now, thankfully, and I don't know what it is, but a lot of AI that I've seen, I can discern it.
Right.
This is an uncanny valley, right? Like I can look at an image of an AI tree that looks identical to like a real tree. Not like it's got fingers growing out of it or something like, oh, that's obvious. There's like a filter. There's something. You remember as a kid when your parents would watch 2020 and you'd go into the living room and you wouldn't know it's 2020, but something about the fuzziness of whatever they did to that image, you knew they were watching 2020. It's like that, right? There's a filter to it that I'm like, oh, this is AI generated. And I don't know what it is, but I can spot it when I spot it.
Sure.
When that goes away, we're screwed. I don't know what we do.
And that's a big piece of the article that we were checking out. It specifically talks about just how generating a fake sexually explicit image of almost anybody is cheaper and easier than ever before. So if that's the case now, we know it's just going to get that much, more enhanced to make it difficult to distinguish. So I really, I like what you're saying about this isn't the first time where we've seen, at least young people be up against, there's the rumor mill. There's always something that the young people are having to face in school. And I think specifically thinking about, this conversation in the context of young people, middle school, high school, elementary school. I think it's really, really important that we, as some of the technologists out here and some of the people in this space, we really get big on advocating for those conversations.
And people don't want to have the conversation because it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's this conversation that we have to have. You might not like hearing about it. It might make you cringe. It might make you get, the shivers. But at the end of the day, if you don't have this conversation, if we do not have this conversation now, when you have to have the conversation, it's going to be a bad time. It's too late. Exactly. Now, speaking of AI, everybody's talking about OpenAI, $150 billion evaluation, while you've got executives jumping ship. I mean, left and right, things I can't figure out what's going on. And then in the midst of all of this, quietly, in a whispered moment, NVIDIA drops, oh, by the way, y'all, we have an AI open model as well. And we're here to rival ChatGPT.
And we ain't charging.
Yeah, this is what I like about NVIDIA. So like I started thinking about this. I started talking to a few people and just like, what is the play here? I mean, I know what the play is, right? But it's just kind of like they really kind of just whisper sent this across the net of, yeah, we're here too. And it's going to be open and we're not charging for it. But yeah, go ahead and play with ChatGPT as well. We're going to invest a little more money. Honestly, one person that I was talking to was like, I think that they invested in the ChatGPT stuff because NVIDIA is like one of the technology players in the investment. And as long as they do that, they can't really be seen as
a competitor
because they're in the same sandbox. But it is going to be, it's an interesting push to sell more hardware, right? Like that's the end of it is, okay, yes, it's free, but it's going to require, or at least it will run better on NVIDIA GPU hardware. And I'm down for that. I actually think that's a really great structure because it means that what you're selling is tangible. You know what I mean? Like that, I can get behind that. Now, I still don't know how they do all of this without scraping data that they don't actually have access to. I don't know.
That part of the conversation.
But I think they got a better chance of doing it this way through the actual hardware than they do with just scraping. And so I think throwing computational power behind this makes a lot of sense. I was very excited to see this and kind of hope that it kind of starts bubbling up.
But let's think about this though. What are the implications of having such a competitive and robust model available in the marketplace for, as we just discussed, potential bad actors to now have even an easier time to really manipulate and use said tool maliciously?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point you can't put the ramen back in the cup, right? Like you already boiled it.
But does NVIDIA as a company, do they have a conversation with,
I think they have I do think that they have at least a path, and I'm speaking hypothetically here, but I think they have a better line of sight to actually control what their system can and cannot generate, because it is something that will be relying not only on a software basis, but on a hardware basis. So, it's kind of like, this sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it's kind of like John Deere, right? Like, so hear me out. I know, hear me out.
Okay.
So John Deere, I love this story. John Deere, although they are one of the leading people who are fighting against right to repair, they have such control over their hardware, their tractors, that when tractors were taken from the Ukraine back to Russia during the beginning of the Russia and Ukraine invasion, John Deere could just turn the tractors off.
Oh,
remotely. And they were like, okay, now you're sitting on bricked tractors. So like, and this is where I'm going with this, is like NVIDIA should have at least some type of fail safes to make sure that whatever is being generated on their hardware within time, right, within reason, that I'm sure it's not going to work like this immediately, but there should be some type of fail safe in there that they are providing hardware that cannot generate explicit, you know what I mean? Like these type of things.
I'm absolutely here for that kind of accountability. If there's not going to be any guardrails up for the companies to,
And that leads to the bigger question, right? Of, okay, if you are utilizing AI to generate something that is illegal, which is also its own argument right now, because our decency laws and generation laws needs to update to AI generated content. But let's say that, in the next, who knows how many years that actually does happen, then it would be not only on the responsibility of the person who actually did the generating prompt, but on the hardware and software itself would also hold I would think, some legal responsibility on its output. In which case, it would also then bring into question of what did it scrape to get the data to be able to generate this type of content, right? So there is this whole back-end conversation of where the data comes from. Can we actually leverage that to figure out where inappropriate real data is living? Like, is that something we can reverse map? Okay, if this thing can spit out an explicit image that it shouldn't be able to spit out, it pulled the ability to do that and came to that conclusion off of real content. Can we reverse engineer that and follow it back to where that content originated? I don't know, right? Like, these are all things that we should be asking, and I'm sure someone much smarter than me is asking those questions. So all hope is not lost, but the problem is hope takes time. And this stuff is spitting out the opposite way faster.
Well, and you brings up a really good question about access as well, which we've talked about before. That access to, the access to certain types of models and just, and certain types of, AI I won't say agents, but yeah, just certain AI tools, we'll just say, that'll become a really interesting question if, in fact, NVIDIA's, going to be leading the charge with this open source model, but, only certain individuals could be able to access it. Then where does that put, other models that, everyone else needs to access? So the ranking, I guess, of these models is going to soon start to kind of play an interesting part.
If NVIDIA has the desire to expand, right, their user base, they need to make not only their technology, they cannot continue the rate of expansion, the rate of growth that they currently have. They cannot continue that upward trend without making their hardware and tools accessible to everyone. Right now, and for honestly, since the beginning of NVIDIA, they've always been providing high-end GPUs. This was felt the most during the boom of Bitcoin, where people who needed 3D graphics cards for their employment and for their jobs couldn't get them because every Bitcoin bro had, shoved 100, 1080s into their basement or mining away. So that type of timeline, that type of trend needs to stop if they want to continue their growth, and they need to start selling and making their hardware more accessible. This is the thing that Intel did really well. Now, there's a lot of catch-up Intel needs to make now, and I don't know if they can continue to compete, which is hard for me to say living in the center of Intel land and being former Intel myself. I want to see them win. Time will tell. It is theirs to lose. But you have to get these things into everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that is important for them to be able to be on that trajectory of expansion and growth, right?
Even with the Nintendo Switch, right, which has the current one has an NVIDIA hardware inside of the current Nintendo Switch. When the Nintendo Switch 2 gets announced, I'm going to be very interested to see if NVIDIA is still involved in that piece of hardware, right? Those are the areas that NVIDIA really needs to be in, and I think is wise for them to be in so that they can continue to find an even keel market outside of high-end gaming or graphics processing for professionals and things like that. So
then the NVIDIA announcement is AI for good, AI for evil. It's leaning in both, a little more on the...
It's AI for sales. It's AI to sell you a graphics card, right? I think that it's indifferent. I don't necessarily think, and this is what always bothered me about OpenAI is they had this altruistic view on AI and how it was supposed to be open and it was supposed to be for good, and then they wanted to be a for-profit, and it is what it is. Right now, they've got the best thing that is accessible to everyone. I would be lying if I said I still don't use it. I no longer pay for it. I use the free version. And I got in this argument before, and this goes back towards another article that I was reading from MIT, where an economist is saying right now everyone's freaking out about AI taking their jobs, but really it can only do 5% of the jobs that are out there right now. And that's a right now thing. That the potential obviously goes up. But I've gotten into this argument with people before who were freaked out about AI, and I'm like, okay, open ChatGPT right now and ask it how many, and you're writing this question, right? So the answer's right there on the screen. How many R's are in the word strawberry? It can't tell you. It's wrong every time. So you can't.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
It still doesn't know?
I tested it yesterday when I was in this argument, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh, I don't believe you. There's no way it doesn't know. It doesn't. There's no way.
Yeah, I tested it yesterday, and I don't know. Maybe sometimes it gets it right. Maybe it's getting smarter. But the fact of the matter is that's a really good and those little examples that people keep coming up and finding keep appearing. Right? There was one point where you couldn't ask it to generate an image of stir-fry rice without chopsticks in it. It couldn't make it. It could not make that image. You said make an image of stir-fry rice. It would make the image, but it would always have chopsticks in it. You could not get it. Or a nerd without glasses was a really hard one. If you said, create an image of a nerd without glasses, couldn't do it.
I just typed in how many R's are in strawberry in ChatGPT, and it just said 2. So it still hasn't.
That's supposed to take my job? Like that. And it's been that way for a minute, right? So those are the things where I get what this economist is saying of let's take a breath. Let's figure out what it is good at. It is still an amazing tool, but I don't think OpenAI is the only player. I don't think OpenAI is going to continue. I think they could continue to win it, But when people start throwing around the $150 billion evaluation number, and this thing can't tell me how many letter R's are in the word strawberry, and it's written there, I don't see the one.
And the board is piecing out. The top brass is like, we out. I mean,
we'll see. Well, that seems like a big number. That just seems like a big number that I'm not willing to bet on right now. We'll see. I mean, things turn around. I've been wrong before. It happens. It happens.
I'm here for the NVIDIA drop and making it open source. And I think it's very helpful for the overall landscape that we're trying to really get through. So yeah, I'm here for it.
And for now, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I want to kick this back over to our producer, Lily, who has dispatch from the fringe. Lily, take it away.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Zero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Hello, Kathy and Lee. Welcome to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe. Today's story is inspired by some of the articles that Kathy and I have written together in the past, imagining the future of health sensors in our everyday devices, like the mirrors in our bathrooms, embedded sensors in our toothbrush that can tell us about our teeth health, and even smart toilets, which I think are already a thing. And maybe I should bring that up for next week's Dispatch. But today's story is about a new startup called Nico Health, founded by Spotify chief Daniel Ek. And he wants to bring head-to-toe healthcare scans as part of an annual checkup routine. It's a full-body health scanner that uses about 70 different sensors and a mix of proprietary and off-the-shelf technologies to non-invasively measure heart function, circulation, and to photograph every inch of a patient's body. So think about all those little moles and interesting parts of you that you might not know are something to look at. So he hopes to have a full body scan down to 15 minutes and charge only $500. So full body scans aren't a totally new thing. Kim Kardashian promoted Prenuvo, which was founded by Andrew Lacey and has backers that include Eric Schmidt, the former Google chief CEO. The Prenuvo device goes for over $2,000 and uses magnetic resonance imaging and then AI-powered software to examine the images. But Daniel Ek wants to bring full-body scans to the people. And currently, the Nico Health Clinic is in Stockholm only, but it has a waiting list of 20,000 people. And in a recent sample of 2,707 patients, life-threatening issues were found in about 1% of those cases. So is this the beginning of big tech for good? or another example of tech executives trying to change the world and make it better. Hopefully, full body scans stay helpful and don't lead people down rabbit holes of hypochondria. And then there are the questions of what will be done with all this data, how do we protect it, and when do we need to double check AI's consensus of our health? Let me know what you think, and thanks for tuning in to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe.
Lily, thank you. You always come in with the strangest, oddest, off-the-wall stories, and I appreciate it because it means I don't have to deep dive into the world of the weird. You do it for us. So, Lily, thanks. You know, it seems real crazy that these type of full body scans are down to 15 minutes right now.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Love it.
But, you know, if it can move things forward, even like medically, I think that's, you know, most important stuff.
Have you ever seen those, you know, the protos? They do like the virtual, the video, it looks like a hologram, like kind of video. Like they look like big.
Oh, yeah, like the volumetric stuff.
Yeah, like a big white light box. And you know, I see that just all coming together. Like a lot of these technologies, when they converge, it's like just being able to have a scan and a live video, you know, doctor appointment, virtual doctor's appointment. That's exciting.
One day with those Meta glasses, and they'll be able to scan everything. I mean, it's around the corner.
You know what? One thing I wasn't able to get, you know, translated with my Meta glasses that technically don't translate because of the first generations. But, you know, we couldn't figure out for the life of us when we were at Meta Connect, bringing it back full circle. What on earth did Zuckerberg's shirt say? That was the big question going through.
I have that answer.
My business partner and I just like, what on earth? What did it say?
Yeah, for those, I had that same question when I was watching it. For those who didn't see MetaConnect's announcement, Zuckerberg wore this. It was kind of a cool looking sweater.
It looked very cool.
That was the coolest. Okay, let me just say this. I'm not like a Zuckerberg like fanboy here, but that was the coolest Mark Zuckerberg ever looked. Like ever.
He had some swag, you know. He had some swag.
He had his hair looked good. He looked good, and it
was a look. It was a vibe. It was a vibe. But
he had a look. So, so the sweater was okay. The wording on the sweater was the same color as the sweater, so it just kind of was there and wasn't like bam in your face. But it said something along the words of "Aut Zuck Aut." I don't know if it's pronounced Nihil but Nihil.
It's Latin, right?
It's Latin.
It's Latin. Yeah.
It's Latin. And it means either Zuck or nothing.
Oof, man.
And I had to think about that for a little while. And I was like, oh, what do I think of Zuckerberg wearing either Zuck or nothing? And here's the thing.
While giving a talk on avatars and presence and the future of
an AI and wearables and like all of that, yeah,
connecting to one another through, yeah.
If I saw like Jeff Bezos wear either Bezos or nothing, I'd be like, that's on brand, but I don't like it. He's gonna take over the world, but it's on brand. If I saw Elon Musk wear Musk or nothing, I'd go, oh, that's way too on brand. And nope, back up nope, throw it in reverse. We got to back out of this. Zuckerberg?
Elon probably wore it first. Elon probably got it first.
Elon's probably mad right now that he didn't think of it. Zuckerberg, I kind of like it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to need to explain that one.
I think the thing Zuckerberg has lacked is personality. And that has been the part, like that's been the feature missing that has kept him from being likable. Like truly. But when I've ever watched Zuckerberg, like when he was pulled in front of Congress and had to explain what was going on with Facebook and things like that. Yes, I think that there are responsibilities of Facebook that they definitely didn't take into consideration and the algorithm got away from them. And yeah, they should be held responsible for that. And I also think that he did a fantastic job explaining that to a bunch of people who just do not have the capacity to understand it. And so do I give Facebook a pass on that? Absolutely not. Do I think Congress did anything remotely helpful in this scenario? No, I don't. So, there's a lot of that. And I think that that's where people do the eyebrow raise on it. But then I look at what Zuckerberg has done to build the VR space, to build the AR space. And I have watched, at least in those spaces, him or the company Meta itself take the responsibility necessary to make sure that when they are building these spaces, that they're doing so socially and consciously responsibly, and making sure that that like from an age barrier standpoint, things are taken care of. So I have to decouple my frustration, anger, or like, I don't like it from Facebook, and look at what's happened with Meta and Connect in that particular scenario. And like, yeah, he's winning it for a reason. No one's invested that much into this space as he has. And I think he's done really well specifically with the VR, AR, XR space. And until I see otherwise, I don't have anything else to say about it.
No, I'll give you that. At the end of the day, I was happy for him to have his Orion moment there.
Yeah. Oh, and that was him coming out swinging at Apple.
Big time.
Swinging.
I wanted him to have that. He deserved it. And
you know what? Apple deserved it too.
He showed you the receipts.
Yeah.
He showed you the receipts over the last 10 years.
He started a conversation. You could see it online too after that happened, because all of a sudden there's a lot of conversation and chatter of, whoa, this is beyond anything Apple's hinted towards. And it goes back to, I think societally, we're getting to a point where we accept that Apple doesn't innovate, but they're supposed to perfect. And they did not perfect with the Apple Vision Pro. Like, they just straight up didn't. Now, will they with a V2? Maybe, but this first offering felt dated when it came out.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, he's got this time. He's got this moment right now where it is Zucker nothing.
Zucker nothing. We'll see. All right, everyone. Adam, thank you for joining me. We'll be back next week with more Tech Magic. My name's Lee Keebler, and we'll be sure to have Kathy back in the host chair as well. Until then, everyone, enjoy your week. Check us out online. Hit us up on LinkedIn. Find us and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcasts. This is Tech Magic.